All right, so in this lesson, we're going to take inequalities one step further, and we're going to actually solve them, and then we're going to graph them. So your goal for this lesson is I can solve inequalities and graph the solution on a number line. So before we get started, there's one part that's not on your guided notes. So I need you to flip your guided notes over, or on a separate sheet of paper. We're going to do some review questions just to get our minds back on inequalities. Okay, so the first one is we need to write an inequality for the situation. And remember, for those, we're going to write the letter and then the number, find the key words, and determine the symbol. So the temperature today will be at most 50 degrees. So I'm going to use T for temperature, and then I have 50. So it will be at most 50 degrees. So first question, ask yourself, can it be equal to 50 degrees? Yes. Now, is it going to be less than 50 degrees or greater than 50 degrees? It's going to be less than 50 degrees. Okay? Number 2. The temperature tomorrow will be above 70 degrees. So I'm going to use T for temperature, and 70 is my number. Now, the key word here is above. So the temperature tomorrow, is it going to be greater than 70 degrees or less than 70 degrees? It's going to be above, so it's going to be greater than. Okay? Yesterday, there was less than 2 inches of rain. So I'm going to use R as my variable and 2 is my number. And my key word is less than, which tells me what my sign is right there. Less than. Okay? Last one. Last Monday, there were at least 3 inches of rain. So again, I'm going to have R for rain, and then I'm going to have 3. Now my key word is at least. That means that it could be exactly 3. Now, is it going to be more than 3 or less than 3? Well, if it's at least 3, that means it's going to be greater than. Okay? Now, these are also just some little reviews. Remember that you just put a 0 in the center, okay, of your number line. Graph the positive number to the right and the negative number to the left. Okay? So now we have a less than or equal to sign. So that's going to be a closed colored-in circle, and it's pointing this way towards the left-hand side of the screen. So my arrow is going to go to the left. Okay? So here we're going to have a 0, and we're going to have positive 5 and negative 5. Okay? And it's going to be an open circle because there's no bar under, and it's over in negative 5. And the arrow is pointing this way, so I'm going to draw my arrow to the right. All right, so here we have 0, and there's no need to add anything else because 0 is our number. We're going to have a colored-in circle because there is a bar underneath. It's less than or equal to, and it's going towards the left. Okay, last one, we're going to have 0 over here. Positive 1/2 on this side, negative 1/2 on this side. It's not going to be colored in, and we're going to be over here on half, and it is pointing towards the left. Okay, so that was just a quick review. Make sure that you write these down. You don't have to write down the words up here, just write 1, 2, 3, 4, but for these, please write the inequality and the number line. All right. So let's jump into solving inequalities. So I need you to think back to how you solve a one-step equation, okay? We had 2 main rules. The first rule is that you would put a box around the variable. Then if it was multiplication, you would do the inverse. So what's the inverse of multiplication? Division. So we divided by 3, and whatever we did on one side of the equal sign, we did it on the other. Then our 3's would cancel out, and we're left with x equals, and 18 divided by 3 is 6. Okay? That's how we solved an equation. But with inequalities, we don't have an equal sign. We have an inequality sign. But here is the really, really good news. And that is that you solve them the exact same way as you would solve an equation. So what I want you to do is pretend that that inequality sign is an equal sign. Okay? So 3x is greater than 18. Box the variable. It's being multiplied to 3, so we're going to do the inverse, which is division. So I'm going to divide by 3 over here. Whatever I do to the left, I do to the right. Divide by 3 over here. And instead of the 3's cancel out. Instead of x equals 6, I just use the same sign that I had at the beginning of the problem. X is greater than 6. That is all there is to it. The only extra step is now that you have x is greater than 6, I'm going to want you to graph it. Okay, so we have 0, we have positive 6, we have negative 6, and it's going to be an open circle, and it's going to go to the right. And that's it. Okay, same thing as equations. All right, let's go ahead and try one. N plus 8 is greater than 19. Put a box around the variable. Okay, there's a plus 8 next to it. The inverse of plus 8 is minus 8. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. The 8's over here cancel, and I'm left with n. And instead of equal, I have this sign right here. I just copy it down. 19 minus 8 is going to be 11. And then the only thing left I have to do is to graph it on my number line. So I'm going to put 0 in the middle, positive 11 on this side, negative 11 here. I'm going to have an open circle because there's no bar, and then I'm going to the right, just like that. Same thing as an equation. Okay, let's try another one. 8 is greater than or equal to k minus 3. Put a box around your variable. What's attached to it? A minus 3. What is the inverse of minus 3? Plus 3. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do it to the other. The 3's cancel, and I'm left with k. Bring down my exact same sign, and then 8 plus 3 is going to be 11. Now, your red flags should be going off right now because you know that we have one extra step before we can graph it. Remember the rule, variable has to be on the left. Okay, so flip everything around. So k and 11, and flip the sign around. All right, so this is our final answer. Now, let's go ahead and graph it on the number line. Okay, 0 in the middle, positive 11, negative 11. We're going to have a colored in circle over here. And then we're going to go to the left, just like that. Same thing as an equation. All right, let's try this one. 8x is greater than 40. Put a box around the variable. What's attached? It's an 8 and it's being multiplied. The inverse of multiplication is division. But whatever I do to one side, I have to do it to the other. 8 divided by 8 cancels, and I'm left with x, and then you keep the sign. 40 divided by 8 is 5, and my variable is already on the left, so I am good to go. Now I just need to go ahead and graph it on my number line. I have 0 in the middle, 5 on the right, negative 5 on the left. I'm going to have an open circle because there's no bar, and I'm going to the right because it looks like this arrow is pointing to the right. Okay? All right, let's do another one here. Same thing as an equation. 3 is greater than or equal to k over 3. Put a box around the variable. What's happening here? We have a division bar. Divided by 3, what's the opposite? Times 3. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. The 3's cancel, and you're left with k, and then you bring down the exact same sign. 3 times 3 is 9. And again, I know your red flags are going off because we have to have this variable on the left. So you flip everything around. K over here, 9 over here, and flip that sign around. Just like that. And then we're going to go ahead and graph it. 0 in the middle, positive 9 over here, negative 9 over here. So we're going to have a colored in circle over the 9, and the arrow is going towards the left, so we're going to go all the way to the left, just like that. Okay? All right. Now, you have some to try on your own. So you go ahead and you try these, and then we will check our answers together. Remember to graph them. All right, let's go ahead and check our answers. So for the first one, you should have x is less than or equal to 16. And here's the graph. For the next one, you should have y is less than 18. And here's the graph. And I don't know what order they are on your notes, so I'm talking about this one right here, the 36. So make sure you're looking at the right one. And then the one with the 26 is going to be y is less than 12. And then here's your graph as well, not colored in circle. And then the one with the m divided by 7, that is going to be m is less than or equal to 21. And here's the graph with a colored in circle right there. Okay? All right. Before we wrap up the lesson, I want to give you some EOG type questions that you will see with inequalities. So let's look at the first one. Which inequality best represents this phrase? So it's giving it to you in word form. A number, okay, let's use x, greater than sign, -1. So which one matches? X is greater than -1. You should choose A because that's exactly what you would have written down if you would have annotated it. Okay, let's look at number 2. Which inequality best represents this phrase? This is another word form question, lots of them. A number, okay, let's use n, less than or equal to, okay, less than, and then the bar underneath, 0. Which one of these matches? C. Okay, let's take a look at this one. 5 friends had lunch together. Their total bill was X dollars, including tax and tip. They shared the costs equally, and each friend paid less than $10. Which inequality shows the possible solutions for X, the total amount of the bill? Okay, this one is tricky. So there's 5 friends and they each paid less than $10. So let's think of one possible number they could have paid. What if they paid $9 each? Okay, because that's less than 10, right? Now, if they paid $9 each and there's 5 of them, how much was the total bill? 9 times 5. And that should give you $45. So which one of these would be true for X with the $45? Is 45 greater than 50? No. Is 45 less than 50? Yes. Is 45 greater than or equal to 50? No. Is 45 less than or equal to 50? Well, yes, it's less than or equal to, okay? But here's the big tricky part. Each friend paid less than $10. The only way we could get it to be equal to $50 is if each friend paid exactly $10. But they didn't. They paid less than $10, and so B would be your answer. That one is very tricky. Okay, let's look at 3 more. A red block and a blue block are on the scale. The red block weighs 9 ounces. So the red block equals 9. Okay. The total, and then we have a blue block. Okay. So the total weight of both blocks is at most 16 ounces. Which inequality best represents B, the possible weight of the blue block? So, do you remember when we did word form with equations? This is exactly what it is, but with an inequality symbol. So think about where your equal sign would be, okay? It would be right here at 16. But instead of equals 16, at most, that's going to be this sign right here, okay? Now, what's our other information? Well, we don't know anything about the blue block, so that's going to be our B. But we do know that the red block is 9, so plus 9. So the blue block plus the red block is less than or equal to 16. Now we need to solve it. Box the variable, minus 9, minus 9. These cancel, and you're left with b is less than or equal to 7. And that's going to be this answer right here. Okay? All right, let's take a look at this one. Which number is not a solution for this inequality? So we have to plug in each number. So 6 divided by 2 is greater than or equal to 12. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Is it true that 3 is greater than or equal to 12? No, it's not. So that is not the solution. That is our answer. But it's always a good idea to check the other ones. So 24, that's not a 2, 24 over 2, I'm plugging in this one, is greater than or equal to 12. 24 over 2 is 12. Is that greater than or equal to 12? Yes. What about 25 over 2? Well, if you put that in your calculator, you're going to get 12.5. Is that greater than or equal to 12? Yes. So our answer is A. That is the one that is not true. All right, last one. Which graph shows the solution set for this inequality? So this is just like our one-step equations. Put a box around the variable, minus 9, whatever you do to the left, you do to the right. These cancel, you're left with r, and instead of equals, we use the original sign, and 12 minus 9 is 3. So which graph shows this? Well, first of all, am I supposed to have a colored in circle or an open circle? There's no bar, so it needs to be open. So it's not A, and it's not C. The next thing, which one is on 3? Well, this is on 3, and this is on 3. So where is the arrow going? It's going this way, to the left. So our answer is going to be D. All right, that is the end of this lesson. Please make sure that you ask me any questions that you have, and you rewind, fast forward, or pause if you need to.